Hello, dear friends. My name is Clive Thompson, and it's Friday, October 3rd, 2025. So thank God it's Friday, they say. Well, we're into the third day of the government shutdown in the USA. The reason it's shutting down is because the government has to pass appropriations bills at the end of each financial year. So the end of the financial year is 30th of September, to allow the continued payment of various government agencies going forwards. And they haven't passed the necessary law, if you like, and therefore government employees, unless they're in essential work or life-threatening work, they are furloughed, meaning they're not required to come to work. Now, this could be a hit to growth in some way. I'm not quite sure how getting rid of non-productive government employees is a hit to growth, but that's what Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, has said. He said the shutdown could be a hit to growth. But having said that, we will be missing various government statistics, particularly, for example, the ones which come out of the Bureau of Labour Statistics. The BLS today would normally produce the non-farm payrolls report. So I don't know if that'll be coming out, but I suppose not. Likewise, so the employees of the BLS have been furloughed. Anyway, we know that, but of course it's not without doubt, it's possible that some could be working gratuitously. I don't know. Anyway, the BLS also produces various other things apart from the jobs report. They produce the inflation numbers. So those sort of things might not come, or they might not get delayed. And of course, they do a lot of surveys. So those surveys, the questionnaires probably won't be going out. But again, I don't really see myself why Scott Bessent says it will be a hit to growth. Just a small point, when the employees go back to work, when they're no longer furloughed, according to what I read, they will be paid for the days they didn't work. So if you like, it's a kind of free holiday. And if I was a government employee, I'm not sure how I would react, but I'm sure a lot of them are saying, wow, free holiday, I'm still going to get paid. Sounds great. Now, despite the government furloughing and shutdown, stock markets continue to go higher and higher and higher. It's this non-stop repetition I say to you every time I come on YouTube. Stocks hit an all-time record, and last night was no exception. We'll just have a look. The S&P and NASDAQ both hit records. There we are. So let's go to, that's the Dow Jones, as near as making a difference, a record, but the actual record here is on the S&P 500 at 6715, and the NASDAQ index is closing also at a record 2,892, up 0.37. But it wasn't just in the USA where records were being made. If we look at Europe, the Stocks 50 index, which we're looking at here, the 50 largest stocks in Europe are at an all-time high. That's this morning's quote. It's just after 9 o'clock here. 5667, up 0.2%. And the Euro Stocks 600, which is the 600 largest stocks in Europe, also at an all-time record, give or take, up 0.5% today. FTSE 100 in the UK, what can you see? It was up at an all-time record a couple of days ago. It's nearly there at the moment. We just look at it a little bit longer term. Look at the 1 year chart here. You can see it's heading up and up and up. Bit more of a mixed picture in Europe. Here we have the DAX. It is close to the record, but it's been a bit more up and down as opposed to straight up. And the CAC 40 in the CAC 40 in France, also a bit of a mixed record, but heading up towards its all-time high. Switzerland also a bit of a mixed picture there, up and down, still quite some way off its high. Don't forget, Switzerland's been hit by 39% tariffs from the United States, and there are also these 100% tariffs on non-US manufactured drugs which come into the United States, unless the company itself is building plants in the United States. And of course, Switzerland has got a large number of pharmaceutical companies in there, in the SMI, the Swiss Market Index. Over in Japan, Once again, another all-time high. As you can see, it's heading up and up, and it's 45,878. And Hong Kong, it's not an all-time high, because if we go back a little bit, it's coming off the bottom in mid-2020, early 2024, but it was higher than that a few years ago in 2021. Let's go and have a look at what's happening in individual stocks. So we'll start with Tesla. So they came in with records, I don't know if they were record sales, but a very good number. They beat the Q3 delivery estimates, selling 479,000 vehicles. So that was a good number, but the shares of Tesla, as you can see, came off by 5% on the day. Why is that? Well, this quarter was the quarter, or the last quarter, where purchasers of electric vehicles get a very large tax credit from the government. I think it's something like $7,000. So that will have boosted sales as people rush to buy their Teslas before the end of the quarter. With that tax credit gone, I rather suspect that the future sales will be down somewhat on this month's, this quarter's. So other investors are seeing the same thing, and that's why the shares dropped by 5% last night. Also rising is Alibaba. Alibaba went through a very rough patch a few years ago when it came under scrutiny from the Chinese government for various alleged infractions of whatever the rules were. But it's doing very, very well. If you can see here, it's come up from 120-ish to 189. And if we go back a bit further, it was even at 100. So it's up 80. Well, actually, if it depends where you go back. If you go back to 2024, I'm going back a little bit further here to see the chart. There you see it was down at 70 odd and it's now at 189. That's in 2024. But if we go back further to 2021, when their troubles with the Chinese government started, even 2020 that was, they're up at 315. So Alibaba's got a long way to go, but the reason it's rising at the moment so rapidly is, once again, it's Beijing's great artificial intelligence hope, and people are buying it for its links into AI in various respects. So like many AI stocks, Alibaba is going higher. We've also seen in the Netherlands, ASML, which is a Dutch chip equipment manufacturer, rising. And the reason it's rising is because it's made a $1.3 billion investment into a French artificial intelligence company called Mistral AI. I've used that, it works. So that's obviously its connection there to Mistral AI is boosting the stock. What else have we got going on? I think that's basically the broadly speaking, the big news on stocks. What about gold? Gold had a bad day yesterday. I mean, it wasn't that bad, but instead of going up every day after day after day, it was one of those rare days when it seemed to go down. And there we are. You can see the little dip, but it's still below the peak. The peak was, give or take, $3,900, and it's now at $3,859. So on the longer term basis, if I just bring up a 5-year chart, you can see it's effectively makes no difference. It's at the all-time high, $50 below the all-time highs. Now they're here nor there. But on the shorter term, people are starting to, every dip, they start to pose the question, is this the end of the rally in gold? I don't really think so. There was a bit of news, I think it was, let's just have a look here. Someone said gold may breach 4,000 by Q4. I saw somebody saying that it's going to go a lot higher. Where was that? I'm just looking for the news now. That's yesterday's news. Gold surges to a record high on government shutdown. Gold eases from the record high. The two stories there. Gold turns back from the record high. Gold edges higher. So it's a bit all over the place here. So let's just look at the story here. It says that gold may breach $4,000 by Q4 2025, i.e. this year. We're in Q4 right now. And that State Street investment management firm said that. What about the gold miners? Well, they came off very sharply yesterday. They're coming back this morning. But if I just bring that chart down to, let's say, a 1 month chart, or even a 5-day chart, maybe that'd be better. You can see that huge dip in the gold miners. This is the GDX index, or a GDX exchange traded fund. It stands for the Van Eck Gold Miners Exchange Traded Fund, symbol GDX, and it dropped very sharply from about 78.20 down to 74.20. So that was about 3.5% down, maybe 4% down on the day. But it's, as you can see, it's now starting to recover very rapidly. So we could go back to an all-time high on the GDX in Gold Miners Exchange Traded Fund any day now. Another thing which is maybe looking a little bit weak is crude oil. If you look here, it's come off in the last day or so, but it's been drifting down basically for the last year and a half, 2 years. Look, I'll bring it up the 5-year chart here. So you can see it peaked, crude oil peaked at around the 120 mark in 2022, in April, 23, 1 year, 24, 2 years, 25, 3 years. So 3.5 years later, it's just drifted down. It's now at 61, down from 121. So it's at half price from where it was 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago. And what does that indicate? It indicates that either there's too much oil being produced or that we've got a slowing economy. I think it might be also interesting to just look at the copper. It's probably a little bit early to buy copper, but what I see is copper demand going up in the future years thanks to more and more electrification in every respect. Motor car manufacturers use a lot of copper, or will be in the future, and of course we have all these data centers and cabling all over the place. So I think that copper, you can see it's on a little bit of a rally now, up from recently 447, 430 to nearly $5 a pound. We'll look at the short term on copper here. Yeah, you can see now you see the rally more clearly. It is heading upwards. The way to play copper is not to buy the physical metal. It takes far too much space to store it. But you could, of course, buy the copper miners. There's plenty of those to find. On the currency front, we can see here that the pound is strong against the yen. The dollar is strong against the yen. But otherwise not much change. One of the things which is moving today, has been moving for the last few days, is Bitcoin. That's a longer term chart. But people a few weeks ago it went below $110,000. Let's bring up the 1 month chart. There we are. It went down to $108,000. And everyone said, the Bitcoin rally's over. But suddenly it surged back, and it's not at an all-time high, but it's at nearly $120,000. I did actually see $120,000 a few minutes ago on my screen. It's now $119,900. So not very far off the all-time high, which you can see if I bring up the 5-year chart. You can see well, to be honest with you, it looks like it is as good as an all-time high, doesn't it? Let's do the 1-year chart. Yeah, you can see it on the 1-year chart now. You can see the all-time high was just fractionally higher, around $123,000, give or take, and it's now $119,000. So pretty close to the all-time high. Quick look at the what's moving on the S&P 500 in America. You can see that Apple was up, Google was up, Nvidia was up, all less than 1%. Microsoft was down less than 1%. Tesla up there in that corner there, down 5.1%. That sort of stood out as the big faller. But otherwise, rest of the stocks were pretty much range bound. If we go to the world stocks, we can see that ASML, I mentioned in the Netherlands, is going up on the back of that investment into Mistral. And there we have Alibaba, the Chinese stock quoted in the USA, which is heading north. Taiwan semiconductor down a bit, but not much to say. And we'll have a quick look at the futures just to see what's happening in the futures here, if there's anything going on. Oil and energy is up a little bit. US stock markets are going to open up higher according to the predictions. Gold is higher, silver's higher, so gold is at 3880 on the futures, silver on the futures at 4718, both heading slightly higher, silver up 81 cents, gold up $12. That's all I've got to tell you for today, ladies and gentlemen. So if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button and do subscribe. I'm looking forward to seeing you again very shortly. I do have a video coming out in the coming days, maybe today, maybe tomorrow. It's about how to make a lot of money quickly in the stock market using something which is called, I'll tell you how it works. Basically, you find an investment company, I'll describe what that is in a minute, a special type of company, which is trading well below its net asset value, where something is imminently going to happen, which will close that gap between the net asset value, which is high, and the share price, which is low. And what you're looking for is a quick closure of that gap, so you can make a very quick 10-20%. And I'm going to tell you how to find those companies, what type of companies they are, and how it works, and give you lots of actual examples along with things that I'm looking at the moment. So thank you very much, everybody. I'm looking forward to talking to you in the coming days, if not later today, with that video.